You know, if you're out there and you're trying to get married, don't sleep on divorced women. You should be trying to sleep with. My parents divorced when I was 12. And my former father-in-law, God rest his soul, he told me that he should have known better than to marry his daughter to a man from a broken home. Divorce stigma is real, and it is nasty business. But forgive me, it's been a few weeks. We haven't checked in. Hope you're doing well. We've been building a blacksmithing forge on the property. That's been a lot of fun, hoping to offer some workshops to the community in the coming months. We also wrapped up our co-ed backpacking trip in Point Reyes, and I'm hoping to have some highlights for you probably in a coming video. Lots to talk about when it comes to divorce and stigma in the Muslim community, but for today, we're going to focus on how divorce stigma affects women specifically. And you've heard this, right? They're used goods. They couldn't keep their home together. They're failures. They couldn't satisfy their men. They couldn't manage their domestic responsibilities within the Islamic paradigm, perhaps their most important obligation. Shame on them. Oh, and if divorced more than once, forget about it. What more social proof do we need for their total communal excommunication? And I'm not exaggerating here. Families refusing to care for their divorced daughters is shockingly common. My appeal here is to Muslim men who want to marry. And if you're not considering a divorced woman, I want you to know what you're missing. Because I gotta tell you, a woman who has never been married, she is thoroughly untested. She thinks she knows what she's getting into, but she doesn't, because her imagination is filled with all kinds of idealistic fantasies, Disney princesses, and the lyrics to whatever breathless love song is currently charting. These are the things she's imagining that she's going to get into. And you are absolutely going to disappoint her, probably around year 2 or 3. Now, you might get through that, but why not avoid it altogether? Now, here's a caveat. Idiots are idiots, whether they're single, married, divorced. I'm not saying that a divorced woman is somehow immune to the idiocy that is out there in the general population. But what I am saying is that we do have an opportunity to investigate her experience. And she has an opportunity to share what she's learned. And you're going to start that by assessing her accountability. So when the subject of her previous marriage comes up, what's her take on that? Is she assuming ownership for her part in the dissolution, or is she playing the blame game? Because it takes 2 hands to clap. So does she realize that, or is she too busy demonizing her partner? And you need to pay attention, because you are going to learn some very important details here about her self-awareness and her approach to conflicts. And for God's sake, don't be a white knight. I have seen this so many times. A divorced woman shows up, she's probably got some kids, she's got a sob story about how her former partner was abusive and dismissive and just a terrible human being, and now you're baited into rescuing her, showing up for her in ways that he never could. It's very compelling for a lot of guys, but run. When you hear that, just run, because spoiler alert, you're about to end up at the shit end of her next sob story. You're gonna lose half your income and your pension in divorce court. And marriage should never be about rescuing anybody. Yeah, so just chill on that, cowboy, because it's not worth anybody's time. If there are kids involved, what kind of a relationship does she have with her co-parent? Is it adversarial? Or is it collaborative? Does she value the relationship that her children have with their father, or is she working to undermine it? Maybe moving them away from their father, talking about how excited she is for you to step in and fill that paternal role in a way that he never could. Don't fall for it. Those kids have a father, and we as men have a collective responsibility to reinforce that primal relationship between father and child. It's essential. It's foundational. Okay, all right, but maybe dad is a problem. Maybe he's all of those terrible things that she says he is. That does happen. But you don't need to make it your problem. If she can't sort out her relationship with her co-parent, is that really a mess that you want to step into? No, because you're trying to get married. You're trying to establish a partnership. You're not trying to rescue anybody. So please check your codependence. She got herself into that situation. Let her sort out her relationship with her co-parent. She can take that up with God. She doesn't need you. And this is no small thing, but a previously married woman has insight into her sexual wants and needs. Muslims have this weird obsession with virginity. Being a virgin isn't weird, but the way that the ideal of virginity plays out in our community, it's actually super gross. Young women are forbidden to participate in certain activities that might endanger the integrity of their hymen. Families will stake their entire reputations on whether or not the public perceives their daughters as pure and virginal. I knew this idiot who found out that his preteen daughter was texting some boy in her Islamic studies class or something. I was on the phone with him. This is what he's telling me. She has absolutely ruined our family's reputation. No man from a respectable family is ever going to consider my daughter for marriage. This was her father, her protector, over text messages. Fuck that guy. He does not deserve the privilege of raising a woman. But these are the ideas that are out there in the community. So being a virgin is not the problem here. It's how we spin the ideal of virginity. But let me assure you, nothing is lost and everything is gained when you court a woman who is sexually experienced and knows what she wants. There's no guesswork. She can take the lead, at least some of the time. She can bring a level of communication and confidence into the bedroom that you are just not going to have with a virgin. Now, in the aggregate, our communal choice to consistently stigmatize divorce is really nothing more than a selfish idealism and some sort of fear projection. And it's patently un-Islamic. Our history is filled with noble men and women who married, divorced, remarried, sometimes multiple times, without suffering any loss of reputation or respect. I'm not even sure when or where divorce became a problem for Muslims, let alone evolving to the level of a taboo. If you know something, post it in the comments. But I'm thinking cultural exchange with the Catholics, perhaps during their ascendancy, like in the 12th, 13th, 14th centuries, maybe when they were in Jerusalem. I mean, at the end of the day, people are influenced by power, and the Catholics were in power. We can see how their monastic influence bled into Islamic aesthetic practices. I'm thinking about the cloistering of some Sufi orders, for example. Or we can see how our religious scholars evolved in time into a almost pseudo-clerical class. That's very Catholic, as is the beseeching of God through regional patron saints, also something that we often see in Sufi circles. We really can't deny the Catholic influence, even to the point where monogamy has become a sort of romantic ideal. And I think at some point in the church's history, marriage became like a holy sacrament. And I think that's probably where Muslims borrowed the idea that divorce is a problem. But I don't know. It's a big topic that we'll probably revisit in some capacity. Dustin Tribe is huge on divorce supports and just normalizing the reality that relationships end. It doesn't have to be a big deal. God tells us explicitly in the Quran that our only obligation in those moments is to make sure that we're separating with kindness. Anyway, if you want to talk more about it, we do offer peer support for divorced men and women and the Dustin Tribe Discord. If you'd like to talk IRL, we've got a rock climbing trip for men coming up in February, Valentine's Day weekend. That's going to be in Joshua Tree. Links to both the trip as well as the Discord are in the description.